Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for attending today's webinar, how Shelter Partnership engaged donors and raised major gifts. My name is Sam Storch with DonorPerfect. I'll be your moderator for today's webinar. And today we're going to be walking through the process and the data science that Shelter Partnership used to raise major gifts, and then how you can generate major gifts for your organization as well. I have a few housekeeping things to get to, but while I'm doing that, I'm actually going to launch a poll question here to start. Just a simple yes or no. Do you currently have a major gifts program at your organization? So that should appear on your screen right now. As I said, we have some housekeeping things. We do have time for questions at the end of the webinar. So in your GoToWebinar panel, you should see an option for questions. Throughout the webinar, if you have any questions about anything, feel free to submit them there, and then at the end, we'll try to get to them. And the second thing is, if you're having trouble hearing, you can type that in as well, hearing or audio or visual, and I'll do my best to help you there. And yeah, that's really it. So we'll go ahead and close the poll and share the results here. So as you can see, do you currently have a major gifts program at your organization? So it's almost 50-50, 44% yes, 48% no, and 8% not sure, just to get an idea of where you stand there. Okay, so moving forward, we're going to get into the agenda here, and I will introduce our panel on the call today. So to start, Tracy Wallace. Tracy is the Development Director at Shelter Partnership and a current DonorPerfect user. She's been in fundraising since 1992 and at Shelter Partnership for 19 years. LA County has one of the highest rates of homelessness in the nation, and Shelter Partnership addresses the causes of homelessness by building the capacity of community-based agencies, developing resources for affordable housing, and providing decades of housing policy and expertise to state and local governments. Next up is Jeffrey Bryne and Katie Ward of Jeffrey Bryne and Associates. Jeffrey has over 30 years of experience in the nonprofit sector, development and fundraising development, planning, marketing. He is the former chair of the Giving Institute, and since 2000, Jeffrey Bryne.
Would you come here?
Since 2000, Jeffrey Bryne and Associates has raised $1.5 billion for over 350 nonprofit organizations. Katie Ward has 10 years of fundraising experience, national recognition for fundraising success at Make-A-Wish, and specializes in major gifts for development, campaigns, and capacity building. And last, we have Michael Bronson from DonorSearch. Mike is a Maryland native and the relationship manager for DonorSearch with DonorPerfect, and has personally worked with hundreds of DonorPerfect clients to get set up and integrated DonorSearch data. Using information from 25 databases, DonorSearch uses proprietary algorithms to help clients find the best philanthropic prospects. All right, so with all of that said, you see the agenda there. We're going to go from what is major gifts, then what the data shows, then we're going to get into our case study, and then apply that to how you can raise major gifts for your organization. And as we said, we'll have some time for questions and answers at the end. So now, to get us started, I'm going to hand it over to Jeffrey Bryne. Jeffrey?
Thank you, Sam, and welcome, everyone. We are glad you are participating on this webinar today. We've been planning this for about 18 months, and this is the launch of DonorPerfect Major Gifts provided by Jeffrey Bryne and Associates. The slide you see here is very well known. We start off with the big picture because we feel that this slide is something that each of your boards and each of your volunteers need to understand. Where is money coming from in the United States? We continue to be the most generous people on the face of the earth. And you look in 2016, which are the latest numbers we have, $390 billion, that's billion with a B, was given by Americans. And where did that come from? 72 cents of every dollar came from individuals. Another 8 cents came from individuals who just are dead. So there's 80 cents came from individuals. Then another 15 cents comes from foundations. Well, who creates foundations? Half of that, or 7.5%, or 7.5 cents of every dollar from foundations, is created by individuals or families. So another 5 cents come from corporations. So if we look at the 72 cents from individuals, if we look at the 8 cents from bequests, and we look at half of the foundations that are created by individuals or families, 87.5 cents comes from us, individuals. Well, why are we doing a DonorPerfect Major Gifts? And what are major gifts, and why are DonorPerfect and Jeffrey Bryne and Associates partnering together for DonorPerfect clients? First, we realize as fundraising professionals that you have software and a platform for capturing your data, and that's DonorPerfect, and organizing it in a way that makes your mission and your work possible. Second, we realize as a DonorPerfect client that you have many demands in your fundraising shops. Half of you say you have a major gift program, half of you say you don't. Third, a lot of research has gone into realizing the next steps for you in either relaunching or creating a major gift program is to create it, formalize it, and to launch it. And that's what DonorPerfect Major Giving is. It's been tested over the last 18 months, and together with your fundraising experts at DonorPerfect and your research experts at DonorSearch, we've come up with a plan to provide you with a program that utilizes best practices in major gifts along with resources of a successful fundraising program. We're going to hear from Tracy Wallace and Shelter Partnership in a few minutes about the launch of this program and how it has benefited them multiple times what they invested into this program. We are going to provide you with the tools, the expert services, and the coaching through various steps in this 12-month program. What you need to do, and we'll get to this in a little bit, is you need to consider purchasing this product and then make it happen like Tracy Wallace did in Los Angeles for Shelter Partnership. We know that major gifts are probably your largest source of contributions that you, as most nonprofits, will receive. We also understand that they're limited in number, and we also understand that a major gift is all over the board on how you define it. Some organizations define it as $1,000. Some organizations define it as $5,000 or $25,000. So this project will help you to hone in and understand on how to define a major gift project for your own nonprofit. Now, why major gifts? Next slide. Is we know that major gifts are a personal, relational style of fundraising. You have a much better return on a major gift program on launching it or retooling it than you do on a special event. You can work for 9 months to 12 months on a special event and you can raise good money. However, in a major gift program, one donor can equal or surpass the entire special event that you've worked 9 to 12 months on. And we want to give you the tools of looking at a donor set of 125 prospective donors and how those donors over the course of the 12-month program will benefit your organization substantially. We also understand that major giving is sustainable, and that the focus of this program is on individuals that you seek to gain support from. And as you know, major gifts are all about, like fundraising, storytelling. And now I'm going to introduce Tracy Wallace and to go over, along with Katie Lord, the Shelter Partnership story.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey. Hi, Tracy. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Katie?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today. Can you tell us just a little bit first about your organization, how your organization is set up, and maybe what drew you to the program?
Sure, and thanks again for having me. Shelter Partnership is a unique organization in Los Angeles County. We serve the homeless service providers. We do not provide any direct service to homeless clients. And so this makes us unique. It also makes it a little bit more challenging in terms of fundraising. We provide resources and technical assistance to over 200 nonprofits in the county of Los Angeles serving homeless people. And we do that in a variety of ways. We have the F. Smart Taper Foundation Shelter Resource Bank, where we gather non-perishable goods. It's a lot like a food bank, but we don't do any food. It's all things that are new, gathered from manufacturers and corporations, things like new clothing, toys, shoes, personal care products. Anything that you would need to really run a household, we gather them in a 108,000 square foot warehouse that we had donated from the federal government, and then we distribute those goods to these nonprofits on a quarterly basis. The other side of what we do is more policy related. So we work to increase the dollars for affordable housing in LA County. So it just makes it more challenging, I think, in terms of when we relate ourselves to all the agencies that do provide services to homeless clients, because we can't say, oh, we serve this many meals or we have this many shelter beds. It's a little bit. It's always been a little bit of a different case or sell for fundraising.
So I see that you have an annual budget of about $1.4 million, and that $1,000 in the past has really been defined by you as a major gift. Can you tell me a little bit about why you decided to embark on major gifts and why now was a good time for you to do that?
Sure. This opportunity presented itself to us, and we were a little nervous, of course, because we've never done a major gifts, an individual major gifts program, because we, frankly, never felt like we had enough resources to do that. The time that we started, I was the development team. So we have our staff is 13 people. And so it's me. I do the foundations. I do the corporate giving. I work with the board. I also do the annual dinner, and my executive director assists in some of those capacities, but she's also busy on the policy side. So it was a little bit challenging to take on a whole new component, but we really felt like the time was here to do that. And, our individual giving, which is also our board giving, has pretty much run consistently at about 10% of our budget. And if you refer back to the pie chart, you can see that we were kind of grossly underutilizing individual giving in our organization. And we'd always felt like we needed to up that. We just didn't know how. And frankly, we were a little bit nervous. We were more than nervous in the beginning, but the way that the program is structured, it makes it so easy to kind of kickstart yourself and to kind of kickstart your whole campaign. I mean, the consultants helped us put together a really great case that, frankly, I don't think we could have put together ourselves, because, you know, you get kind of complacent and you see things in your own light because you're just working in your own little world. And so when somebody comes from the outside and they say, well, you know, what about this? You kind of think about it differently. So they put together a great case for us. They helped us do that. And they took this kind of overwhelming idea of doing a major gifts individual campaign, and it was, you know, segmented into easier little pieces that we were really able to achieve. And so we didn't have to think about the whole program, the whole thing. We just focused on each individual piece, and that's how it became so successful for us.
Well, wonderful. Well, let's share your results with everyone here on the next slide. And I know that we're not quite through our first 12 months of the program, but can you share some of your success and maybe what some of the greatest benefits you've had from this program? I know you've touched on a couple of those, but would you like to share maybe some of the results?
Sure. We did. We have received pledges of $57,000 or a little bit more, perhaps. We're still working on some individuals. We've returned to our board members. We haven't gotten through all of our board members yet, but we're working on those. And that's, you know, something. The ask is something that the team has really helped us with. They've made it very easy for us, and returning to past donors and sort of talking through the pitch. The team helped us identify, you know, the whole campaign. We did structure this grant, a foundation grant, and in talking about it, we decided to ask that it be a matching grant, and it just helps the case more to go to our donors and say, we have this matching grant, will you help us? You know, it just makes the case stronger, I think. And so right now we've raised a total of $144,000, and we're just thrilled. We really are.
Well, wonderful. And so for people that are listening, what would your biggest advice be to some of the people that are listening that are maybe wondering if they have the time to really commit to this program?
I would say that if we could do it, anybody could do it. Because really it's such, you know, yes, you do have to put time into it, but it's segmented very easily so that there's really a very distinct plan, and you're going to come up against questions or barriers at some point where people will say something that you don't expect, but the team is always there to help you talk through, you know, your concerns, or even if, you know, however you feel, they're there to talk you through it. I think that's really great. And I think that the bottom line is that donors have supported you in the past because they really care about your work. And I think what we've realized is that they really want to hear more from you often, and they really want that opportunity to help you, especially when you need the help. And we really did need the help from them. And so it's just, you know, whatever you're thinking, oh, I can't do it, I don't have enough time, we don't have the resources, that's what the team and the program is there for, to help you get through it and to help you be successful.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Tracy. We really appreciate it. It's been such a pleasure to work with you. And now we're just going to turn it over to Michael and Michael is going to talk to us a little bit about how DonorSearch really supports and is a partner in this program.
Hi, everybody. So I'm Mike from DonorSearch. We've been around for about 10 years, and we got our start because our CEO was looking at his clients at his former position, and they wanted to know how to identify people who were philanthropic instead of just looking at the traditional wealth numbers. Okay, so he kind of went into a big study, and I'll walk you through the study in a few minutes. And what he discovered is that there's a lot of indicators that really point to philanthropy. So if you just kind of use the data and find as many ways to get more data as possible, you can use it to your advantage to really highlight those individuals. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start off by taking a look at a few slides that highlight certain aspects of our data. Okay, so the first one, this is all data that you might have in your database right now. We have the donor name on the left. You'll notice that we're big Star Wars fans here, so you got some notable individuals over there. But we have last gift number, the total gift amount, and the number of gifts. Right? These are all great indicators to look at when looking at philanthropy. Okay, but if you don't really know a lot of these individuals, they may be all you have to look at. Okay, so if you look at their charitable giving and you look across this board, certain people certainly stand out. At the top, Palpatine made a gift of $3,000, or a total of $3,000 for the gifts. That's certainly something worth looking at. He's also made 7 gifts, which means he has a pretty good relationship with you. He keeps coming back and giving more and more. Mace Windu, about halfway down, has given 10 gifts. Now he's only given $10, so maybe he's a monthly donor or something like that, but he certainly has a loyalty to the organization that's worth looking at. And then finally at the bottom down there, Greedo, man, he's given a lot of gifts. 37 gifts. The total's a little bit less than, say, Maz a few rows up, but he's very loyal. Okay, now if we add a data set in there, go to the next slide here, you can take a look at real estate. Now, real estate's fairly easy to get. You have services like Zillow, and of course, services like our own that provide that real estate. So now when you bring that data in-house, all of a sudden, Admiral Akbar at the top looks like a pretty good prospect. You know, he's sitting in a $3 million home. And if you didn't know that, then you were only pretty much considering him as a $50 donor. Okay, so the goal is to identify more pieces of data so that you can kind of think more, get a full picture of what each individual donor is capable of and working with. Okay, you'll also notice in the middle there that you have Padme. She's only ever given 1 gift, but she has over $1 million home, so that's somebody worth looking at. And then if you scroll towards the bottom, if you're looking at Greedo, now Greedo seems like less of a major gift prospect. He's certainly loyal, but he's probably not going to be able to make that, that huge charitable gift, right? But this is just looking at real estate. If we hop onto the next slide, we can pick up another piece of data that's very helpful. This is if they're on the board of a foundation, okay? A lot of signs point to, and I'll get to those in a minute, but a lot of signs point to these people being more philanthropic because they're giving probably the most valuable resource of their time and their energy to foundations to help, okay? So you see that Padme is on the board of a foundation. That's a big indicator. So now she kind of has a couple wins in her column. You'll also notice on Greedo at the bottom, he's also there. So another plus in his column as well. Now, if we add the final data set, this is a big game changer. And this is kind of how we've changed DonorSearch a bit. And you look at the largest gift elsewhere. This is a huge indicator of philanthropy. And if you look down this list, you'll notice that several of these individuals have made very large gifts. The big one in the middle, Padme Amidala. Now, you know she lives in $1 million home, but she's also giving away $1 million. So there's a lot going on there that you might not know, but you know she's very philanthropic. She's giving of her time as a foundation trustee, and she's certainly writing those big checks, okay? So you might want to get to know her. Maybe she's a brand new donor. In that case, it's a great time to reach out and give her a personal phone call. Give her all the special attention that she is used to getting, okay? Because then you're going to help stand out in her mind, okay? And those additional gifts in the future are more likely. But if you look around, Palpatine is still certainly looking pretty good. Lando, which we never looked at before, he's kind of been middle of the pack across the board. He's making a $50,000 gift. That's a big deal. Okay, so all of these things are certainly worth looking for. If you can, you really want to bring in as much information on your donors as possible. Okay, so we'll hop on to the next slide. All right, so this is the study I was talking about. Long story short, we wanted to know exactly which of these indicators were likely to point to philanthropic individuals. Okay, because that's what we're looking for. We can point to the wealthy people all day long, but if they're blowing millions of dollars on a private jet and a private car, with the exception of maybe a tax break, they're probably not very philanthropic individuals. Certainly, there's individuals that break that mold, but in general, those are adverse markers, and that's one of the things we discovered in the study. But we looked for a lot of things. So what we did is we took 2 million individuals that were given to us by over 400 organizations, and these 2 million people had given a total of $5 billion in giving. Okay, so we knew who they were, we knew who gave the most, we knew in the file who was philanthropic. What we didn't know is how to find it if we didn't already know that information. Okay, so we started appending all these different data sets to this and seeing kind of what makes sense. The first biggest thing that we found is giving to your organization. Again, this is data that you already have. This is data stored in DonorPerfect that you can pull reports on and work with. Okay, and it's a huge indicator. If they're giving you very large gifts, then there's a huge indication there that they're likely to do that as well. All right, one of the things we use for that data set is we use an RFM, which is just a relationship score or an affinity score. And what we do is we look at 3 different data sets: their last gift, their number of gifts, and their total giving amount. Okay, it's recency, frequency, and money. Okay, so when you assign everyone in your database a 0 to 100 score based on each one of those stats, so the person that just now gave yesterday, they're going to get a 100, whereas the person that gave 9 years ago and hasn't given since, they're going to get a 1 or a 0. You do the same thing with the number of gifts and the total dollar value, and then you add those 3 scores together. That'll give you a 0 to 300 point score that'll help identify how close these individuals are to your organization. All right, and this will balance out everybody that's giving you, a single gift of a lot of money versus a monthly gift of a smaller amount. Okay, but it'll balance out and it'll help you identify the people that you know, that you work with all the time, that really love your organization. If you see somebody with a score, above 250 and below 300, you'll recognize those names. And if you don't, there's a problem. You need to, get to know those people because they're your big supporters. Okay. So if we go to the next slide, the other factor that we really like to look at is giving to other organizations. Okay. This is the tricky one. Okay. So what we did is we started collecting annual reports. Okay. We put them together in one giant database and built it and built it and built it. Currently, we have over 130 million charitable gift records. Okay. And then we identify which of those charitable gifts are which individuals. And then we can see where they're giving elsewhere and how that affects your organization. So in this page, if you look at the very bottom, people who have given a $5,000 to $10,000 single gift, all right, that's 1% of those donors that we looked at. They made up a total of just over 5% of the total giving, all right, which means if they've given a gift of $5,000 anywhere else, they're 5 times more likely to make a major gift to you. Okay, think about that. 5 times as likely just because they gave somewhere else. Okay, and it only goes up. So if they've made a $10,000 to $25,000 gift, they're 10 times as likely. 25 to 100, 11, not a big jump there. But when they've made a $50,000 gift, they're 25 times as likely to make a gift to you. And then it caps up over 100,000. It caps at about 32 times as likely that they'll make a gift to you. So when you can append this type of data to your donors, it helps you focus on the people who are much more likely to give a gift. Right? If you're giving $1 million gifts, you know, the $50 gift or the $500 gift or even the $5,000 gift, they're all about the same. Okay? It's not going to make a difference in your daily lifestyle. So in general, when those people receive a $50 gift, reach out, show their love to the individual for that gift, and express the need that gift filled, then you're more likely to start adding zeros to that gift. Okay. The next piece of information we looked at is going to be, like we said before, when they're on the grant giving foundation. Okay. When somebody is on a grant giving foundation, okay, they are more valuable than any other wealth marker. Okay. This factor alone highlights a much greater philanthropic tendency. And you can go to the next slide. But this expresses that they're more likely to make a gift. Okay, across the board. They are philanthropic. They're giving their time. They're giving their energy. And in most cases, when they sit on those boards, they're more likely to, you know, they're give or get off kind of situations. So they're giving already. Okay. The next one we want to look at is political giving. Political giving you can find online. Of course, it's in our product, but you can find it available. It's a little bit tedious to look at, but you can certainly identify when your donors are giving politically. Next slide. What we found is that political giving skyrockets you to the top most philanthropic people in the country. Okay. We won't spend too much on the chart, but it's there. You can see that a small gift will make you much more likely to give a gift charitably. But a single gift, one gift of $250 will put you in the top 6% of the population. Okay, a $1,000 gift skyrockets you to top 0.1%. And a $15,000 gift, if they have a lifetime giving politically of $15,000, there's an almost guaranteed 5 to 7 figure charitable gift. Okay, charitable gifts are harder to find. Political giving is much easier to find. So if you can find a history of political giving, you'll know, almost guaranteed, it's something like 99.8%, but it's almost guaranteed that these people are making large charitable gifts, okay? And you can just search them, okay? So all of these factors really, really help a lot. Now, the last one we want to talk about is certainly a factor. Obviously, it's not our top 4, but the value of the real estate, okay? If we look at the next slide, there's certainly a lot of predictive strength in the charitable giving. There we go. Okay, so if their house is over 125,000, you know, it's actually all the way up to 500,000. It's actually an adverse marker. If their house is under 500,000, they're less likely to make a gift. Okay, but the minute it hits 500,000, it starts going up and up. If they have real estate over $2 million, they're 17 times more likely to make a major gift. okay? It's very predictive, okay? And this is information that you can find on your own. I've given you many things that you can find on your own, so there's certainly some, there's some time constraints looking for all of it. That's kind of what we do for you. But if you can append these data sets to the information that you already know about your donor, you can use them and report against them to really focus on those top individuals. And that's how we're helping in this situation. We're helping to identify those top prospects and showing you what they're capable of and who you should focus on. Thank you for having me. Jeffrey?
Hey, Michael, thank you so much for that summary from DonorSearch. And for all of you on the telephone, we, through Shelter Partnership, submitted to DonorSearch 500 of the best prospects and donors. And out of that came back 125 qualified donors that Shelter Partnership and Tracy have been working on these past 10 to 12 months on helping to raise the $144,000. So I'd just like to take you to the next slide and just go over a few things that we are looking for in an organization like Shelter Partnership and what we are providing through DonorPerfect Consulting Services as well. Number one, we're going to look for a case for support that's realistic, relevant, compelling, and that we can talk about. It's your story, and your story is the way we're going to be doing the fundraising. It's storytelling. It's sitting down, it's sharing, it's listening. What is fundraising? 90% of fundraising is listening, not talking. So what we've got to do is we've got to create a story, but then we've got to listen. We've got to gauge your readiness, both internally and externally. What do I mean by internally? Well, we're going to use DonorSearch in helping you to assess and appraise 500 of your top donors and narrow those down to 125. And externally, we're going to use your board, your staff, and others knowledgeable about helping us to refine and take that 500 down to 125 prospects for your major gift program. Third area that we're going to look for in your criteria for success is commitment from your leadership. You've got to have a CEO who is 110% behind this program, because it's going to take, as Tracy mentioned, a little bit of your time every week and every month to create and talk to Katie Lord and others at Jeffrey Bryne and Associates who are going to be providing the expert coaching and consulting for you. Also, you've got to have a commitment from your top donors of your organization. And you already have those, because those are the donors who were submitted to DonorSearch, who helped us identify a prospect base that was yours and definitely tailored to your organization. Fourth is that we're going to help you then create a donor development pool. As I mentioned, 125 prospects of donors for your major giving program. Fifth, we're going to help you implement the strategy, and that's part of the art and science of this, where we're going to help you develop a case, create the leadership, create a timeline, help with donor appraisals, and then coach you and work with you on the approach and the ask and the feedback as well. You know, it's not that you just go out and create a solicitation. It's closing the solicitation and getting the gift. And as Tracy can tell us during the questions and answers, that is what the coaching on our side has been very beneficial to Shelter Partnership. And last, you got to steward those donors throughout the entire cultivation and prospect and solicitation phase. Well, next, what is Donor Major Gifts Consulting Services? It's delivered, as I mentioned, by Jeffrey Bryne and Associates, who's partnering with DonorPerfect. We've been in the business of working with nonprofits across the country for 18 years. We have a combined experience of over 200 years from the people who are going to be helping you with this program. It's a 12-month program. Month by month, we have benchmarks that we set together with a timeline that is delivered to you by telephone, by Katie Lord and a group of people that are working with her, and it will help you hone in your own skills, give you the tools you need to do what you do best, and that's reach out and then help to set up the appointments and go on the calls and make the solicitations and basically tell your story. That's all fundraising is telling your story. It's helping you create a proposal like we did with Shelter Partnership. We came up with a proposal with a number of items in that proposal that totaled over $100,000 that was needed for the major gift program. We identified prospects. We helped to prioritize the portfolio. Once we got the 500 prospects back, we prioritized those from number 1 prospect to number 125. And guess what? We spend 50% of our time on the top 50 prospects because that's where we know you're going to be most successful in raising probably over 80 to 90% of the overall dollars for your program. We help you with implementation strategies, and then we help you with a measuring tool as well. Well, how do we get started on this? And we have to do a pre-assessment. Once you purchase the program through DonorPerfect Consulting Services, then we help to do a pre-assessment to determine what needs to take place and what you need to provide DonorPerfect in analyzing and assessing the donors and your fundraising that we will provide feedback with. Number 2, we're going to help you develop a proposal for major gifts. You've got to have fundable projects so that we will put those into your story and put together a 2 to 4-page proposal that you will use throughout this program. Number 3, then you're going to submit those 500 prospects via your DonorPerfect platform to DonorSearch. And then they're going to work their magic, as Michael just said, and they're going to help provide us with the next page, number 4, prioritizing and assigning the top 125 prospects by 3 groupings that we're going to suggest, just like we did with Tracy. Group A is going to be your top level prospects, number 1 through 25. B, 26 through 50 prospects, and then number 51 prospects through 125. So that's the way we're going to prioritize and assign the prospects. And last is we will spend 9 months or longer then developing strategies, working with you on setting up the appointment that you will be responsible for, strategizing with you on the call plan for each of these 125 prospects, helping you to determine follow-up strategies and closing strategies on getting the gifts in, like Tracy said she did with the $57,000 that they've currently raised and the one challenge grant of $90,000+. So this is an outline of the DonorPerfect Consulting Services Major Giving Program. And with that, I am going to turn it back over to Katie Lord and Tracy Wallace for your questions and comments, and we'll be here to provide any feedback that's needed.
Yes, thanks for that, Jeffrey. Real quick before we jump into question and answers, we just wanted to launch a poll question related to the consulting service. So if you could just answer whether you're interested or not in learning more about what Jeffrey just sort of spoken about of the major gifts consulting service. And then we have a number of questions lined up here, which we will get to. All right, so now we can go to questions and answers. And again, feel free to submit anything that comes to your head right now based on anything you heard today, but we have a number of things here that we can get to. So first I'll start with Tracy. And this is a pretty straightforward question. How did you structure your ask?
Well, with the Major Gifts program, what we did was we sent out through the consultant program. We sent out a short letter asking for a meeting, and then we followed up with a phone call, and then we went into a short conversation with the donor, and then went ahead with the plan from there. Sometimes some of the idea is that you ask in person and you set up a meeting down the road, but some of the donors, we had, especially our board members, some of our board members, we just had extended conversations on the phone, the people that we knew really well, and we talked about, we shared with them the proposal, the case statement. It's about 3 pages, and the budget items, and we talked about that, and we asked for their support.
Got you, great. Paula, so I don't think I'd introduced Paula before, but Paula Burns, one of our DonorPerfect sales reps, is here to talk, answer any questions about DonorPerfect and DonorSearch. So the first question we have on that is, as far as the integration between DonorSearch and DonorPerfect, where does the DonorSearch data go when it syncs over into DonorPerfect?
We go into your Bio 2 tab. It is right there. You also have your DonorSearch button right inside of it. You also can get, depending on your plans, access to a database. So there's different plans that you can ask your client manager about.
All right, thank you. Next for Jeffrey and Katie, either one, I guess, can you guys please just provide some examples of storytelling, and it's worded here, how crisp and tailored should it be?
That's a great question. So storytelling really is, again, we want to tell the story about your organization as succinctly but yet also compelling as possible. And then we really want to hone in on a project or maybe a program that you are specifically wanting to target your major gift fundraising ask for. So we want to do that, again, succinctly and crisply so that we can then again really have a conversation. As Jeffrey said earlier, 90% of fundraising really is listening. So we want to provide a document that is compelling, that's going to start a dialogue where we can really hear where our donors are looking at. So we say that our proposal really should be between 2 to 4 pages and no more than that. And that's also, including some compelling pictures and things. So again, we want to keep it crisp, but we want it to be a jumping off point to learn more and to have the opportunity to really engage with relationship management and building with your donors.
Great, and to keep it with Jeffrey and Katie, what exactly is the scope of work for the Jeffrey Bryne Consulting Services? What do you do and what does the organization do? If you had to give a quick summary.
That's a great question as well. We really see ourselves as partners with our organizations. So we do provide templates and resources that we can walk through together and help kind of personalize for your organization, but it will be incumbent upon our partners to reach out to their donors and to start that dialogue with their donors. We will give you the tools and the strategies to do that. But again, we will want you to be a partner and then reach out to your donors because they don't know us. And maybe Tracy, can you talk a little bit more about how we partnered and how that worked for you?
Sure. I mean, you guys obviously had the structure going in to kickstart us and to help us, build our program. But then as we worked together and we had questions, you helped us kind of create new ideas and new formats for our work. So I think to me it felt like a collaborative process, and it felt like an extension of our development, of our own development team. It really did.
Great, thanks. Next, a couple questions here for Michael. Michael, first, does the age of the homeowner at all factor into the predictive score?
Age does matter. It's not something that we directly correlated with real estate property, but there is some aspect of if they're very young, they very likely just now bought the house, so they're less likely to have that disposable income. But I don't have an exact number for you.
Gotcha. And a follow-up, or I guess sort of unrelated, but how do you see the new tax codes, I guess, potentially affecting any of the data points here?
So currently we are unaffected. We have a kind of a thumb on the button, so to speak, to make sure that we're always well within everything that's legal and right and moral. So we're paying attention to it. We're watching it. As of yet, it hasn't really affected us and how we do business, but we are kind of always monitoring the political situation.
All right. Jeffrey and Katie, we have two here for you. One, we have someone on the call who says they need to generate closer, to 5 million total gifts. Is this a process you think that could generate those kind of results?
This is not a program for a capital campaign or a major gift campaign for that size. You can go to fundraisingjba.com and look at our website. You can also go there and sign up for this program for DonorPerfect major consulting services. But a program of that size, you definitely need outside assistance, and this is a program above, that would be above and beyond this program.
I just want to confirm, you said fundraisingjba.com, right?
Yes, sir. And there's a landing page on our website that takes you into a form to fill out for more information. And there will be a response from DonorPerfect or Jeffrey Bryne and Associates back to you as a result of you filling out the form.
Got it. And just so everyone knows, I just sent out a link to that site in the chat. If you check your GoToWebinar panel, you should see that. Next for Paula, what exactly are the costs of this the consulting service?
Unfortunately, I can't answer that due to every client has a different plan. Some could be small, some could be extremely large. But your representatives, if you know who they are, reach out to them and they can certainly send you the pricing on what you need, or you can always email me at pburns@donorperfect.com and I'll make sure your representative gets the information to reach out.
Got it, great. And then Jeffrey and Katie, sort of a follow-up to that. If an organization does sign up for your consulting service, how exactly is that conducted? Is that all on the phone, in person, or what's sort of the format of working through that?
So we do have a phone and web-based approach to this program. So we do a lot through conference calls and then webinar technology that we have available to us to kind of implement this program. It's not really face-to-face at this time. Again, we're based in Kansas City, so a lot of it is through utilizing the technologies that we have, but I also think Tracy can touch on that. It doesn't feel that far away, does it, Tracy?
No, it certainly doesn't. I mean, we're on the West Coast, and we never felt like we were, well, we felt like we were just next door to you guys.
Yeah, Paula has a follow-up.
Just to add on to what Katie just said, with clients that we talk to, if you get stuck on something, even though it's only, it's monthly and they're there for initial and walking you through everything, you can pick up the phone for a short call and they will respond. Jeffrey Bryne Associates are great the way they handle that. So don't feel like if you get stuck, you can't reach out.
Okay, with all of that said, we're going to start wrapping up now. I see a number of people have written in asking about whether the slides and the recording of the webinar will be shared. And yes, they will be. We'll send that out hopefully within the next 24 hours or so. So keep an eye out for that. And I guess thanks to our presenters, Michael, Jeffrey, Katie, Tracy, Paula as well. Thank all of you guys for coming on. I think this was a very helpful webinar. And we can even send some of the questions that we weren't able to get to you guys to do some, additional follow-up if that's necessary. So with that, I guess thanks everyone for attending as well, and have a good rest of your day.